Okay, so Cologne in November, huh? Not exactly the first place that pops into your head for a getaway, right?
Right, not exactly known for its beach weather this time of year.
Exactly. But that's what makes it the perfect spot for a deep dive. We're talking about 14 fantastic things to do in Cologne in November from Europa.tips.
Oh, nice, and it's a recent one.
Fresh off the press, October 19th, just a few days ago.
Even better, you'll be practically walking in their footsteps.
Now, what I love about this article is how it really gets under the skin of Cologne. It's not just about checking off the main attractions.
It's about those experiences you wouldn't even think to look for, those little slices of authentic Cologne life.
Exactly. Like they say, it's about traveling like a local. And they start with, of course, the Cologne Cathedral, but not in the way you might think.
Right, because everyone pictures it on a postcard. Sunny skies, crowds.
All those tour buses lined up.
But imagine this. A crisp November morning, maybe a touch of fog hanging in the air, and that incredible cathedral standing tall.
Oh, I can picture it. And you know what else makes a place feel magical?
What's that?
Christmas markets. And the article mentions they start popping up in late November.
Perfect timing. Before the holiday rush really kicks in.
I can almost smell those roasted chestnuts and gingerbread now.
And the glue wine. Don't forget the glue wine.
Oh, absolutely. The article specifically mentions Ultramark Square. Have you ever been?
I have, yeah. It's magical, all those twinkling lights and handmade ornaments.
It's interesting you mention the history because the article actually touches on that. Apparently, these markets go way back, centuries even, to the Middle Ages.
Oh, wow. Really? I didn't know that.
It's true. They were originally a way for people to stock up for winter.
Fascinating how traditions evolve, isn't it?
It really is. Now, we can't talk about Cologne without talking about the Rhine.
Of course not. The lifeblood of the city.
Whew.
And it's stunning.
And the article talks about how different it feels in November.
You know, there's something so peaceful about a river in autumn.
They suggest a morning walk along the banks.
Can't go wrong with that, especially with a warm drink in hand.
And later in the day, a sunset cruise. Can you imagine the city lights reflecting on the water?
Oh, magical. And they call that stretch of the Rhine the Romantic Rhine for a reason. Artists and poets have been inspired by it for centuries.
It sounds idyllic. Now, I have to ask, when you think of Germany, what's the first drink that comes to mind?
Oh, come on. You already know it's beer.
Of course. And in Cologne, it's all about the Kolsch.
Which is really saying something in a country known for its beer.
So, for those of us who aren't beer connoisseurs, break it down for us. What is Kolsch and why is it so special?
Well, for starters, it's unique to Cologne. You won't find it anywhere else.
Really? Wow.
Yep. It's light and refreshing, served in these small, slender glasses called stongies.
Okay, now you're just making me thirsty.
And the best part is experiencing it in a traditional brewery, the kind of place that's been around for generations.
With those big, heavy wooden tables and the smell of pretzels in the air.
Exactly. It's an experience in itself.
Speaking of experiences, I'm noticing this article recommends some fantastic indoor activities for those chillier November days.
Always good to have a backup plan when the weather isn't cooperating.
Absolutely. And I love the contrast between their two main suggestions, the Ludwig Museum and the Chocolate Museum.
Talk about something for everyone.
Right. So the Ludwig Museum, for those who maybe want to immerse themselves in some art and culture.
It's known for its modern art collection. Picasso, Warhol, you name it.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
It's one of the most important collections in the entire world. You could easily spend a whole day there.
And then, for those of us with a sweet tooth...
Or anyone who just loves chocolate, let's be honest.
True. The Chocolate Museum?
Now there's a place where you can really indulge.
I'm already imagining the aroma of chocolate as soon as you walk through the door.
They have everything exhibits about the history of chocolate, how it's made.
Don't forget the chocolate fountain.
Oh, right. How could I forget? Dipping everything in sight.
It sounds like a chocolate lover's paradise.
It really is. And you know, it's interesting because people usually associate chocolate with Switzerland or Belgium.
Right, but Cologne has its own chocolate story.
It does. It
Yeah.
goes back to the Middle Ages when Cologne was this major trading hub.
I love how something as simple as chocolate can connect us to a city's past.
It's those little connections that make travel so fascinating.
Absolutely. Now, the article also features a section called Hidden Gems, which I always gravitate toward.
Oh, me too. Those are always the best finds.
And one that caught my eye is Flittarder Rheinau. Have you ever heard of it?
Flittarder Rheinau. I can't say that I have. It doesn't ring a bell, but I'm always up for discovering new places.
Well, the article describes it as this peaceful nature reserve right on the Rhine.
Oh, that sounds lovely. A nice escape from the city buzz.
Exactly. They even suggest bringing a thermos of tea and just enjoying the tranquility.
I can picture it now, the crisp autumn air, the sound of the river.
Sounds like my kind of place. Then, for a complete change of pace, they recommend checking out Bristlerplatz.
Now, that one I know. It's a really lively square, always something going on. Street performers, little cafes.
That's exactly how the article describes it.
It's a great spot for people watching, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just soaking up the energy of the city.
It's that wonderful contrast, again, peaceful nature, 1 minute, bustling city life, the next.
A best of both worlds.
Now, for those who really want to get off the beaten track, the article has a section called Local Vibes Only.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Let's hear it.
One of the suggestions is a graffiti tour in Ehrenfeld.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. I've heard Ehrenfeld has an incredible street art scene.
It seems like it's become quite the hub for artists and creatives.
Yeah, it's like an open-air gallery, constantly evolving.
And the article points out that it's a great way to experience a different side of Cologne's art scene, outside the traditional museums.
Absolutely. It feels very current, very in the moment.
Exactly. And speaking of unique finds, they also recommend browsing the boutiques in Agnes Viertel for one-of-a-kind souvenirs.
Much better than those mass-produced tourist trinkets, right?
Right. You get to bring home something with real character, something that tells a story.
I love that idea. What else is on the local vibes only list?
They suggest a walk along the Rheinhofen, which they say is really interesting from an architectural point of view.
Oh yeah, the Rheinhofen.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating mix of old and new.
I have to admit, architecture isn't usually my thing, but I am curious about those Kranheiser buildings.
Oh, you mean those ones that look like trains?
Exactly. They're so distinctive.
They're definitely hard to miss. And they actually were designed to resemble the cargo cranes that used to be all along the Rhine.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. So
Yeah.
it's a nod to Cologne's industrial past.
Precisely. They've become quite iconic.
It's amazing how architecture can tell a story. It's like these buildings are a link between Cologne's past and its present.
It's that layering, that depth that makes a city so interesting to explore.
It's funny because as we've been talking about all these different experiences, the history, the markets, the art, even those buildings, it's really striking me how multifaceted Cologne seems to be.
It really is. It's not just one thing. It's a place you can experience on so many different levels.
And that's what I'm really loving about this whole deep dive. It's revealing all these different sides of Cologne.
And what's cool is that November might actually be the perfect time to experience it all.
How so?
Well, think about it. It's less crowded, the pace is a bit slower, and you really have the chance to engage with the city on a more intimate level.
That's a good point. It's like you're seeing a side of Cologne that most tourists don't get to see.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so special.
And sometimes those are the most rewarding travel experiences, wouldn't you say? The ones where you feel like you've discovered something really unique, 100%. Those are the memories you hold on to.
Those are the experiences that stay with you long after you've unpacked your suitcase. It's about, I don't know, like you said, connecting with the soul of a place.
Exactly. And this article, I think it's safe to say it's given us a glimpse into Cologne's soul.
It really has. It's funny. As we've been going through all these amazing things to see and do, the cathedral in the fog, those Christmas markets, even just hanging out at Brusseler-Platz, I'm wondering, what's speaking to you most?
Ooh, good question. For me, I think it's that mix of old and new that Cologne seems to pull off so well.
Right, like it's this ancient city steeped in history.
Exactly. But then it's also got this modern, almost edgy vibe with things like the street art in Ehrenfeld, those Kranhäuser buildings.
It's that contrast, that unexpected blend that really makes Cologne stand out.
It's like it's not afraid to evolve. Cologne's part of its past, but it's also looking ahead, which I find really inspiring.
It is. And, as you plan your own November trip to Cologne, my advice would be to keep that in mind, that sense of discovery.
Be open to being surprised.
Exactly. Let yourself wander, stumble upon those hidden corners, because that's where you'll find the real magic of Cologne.
I love that. Well, you've convinced me. I'm ready to book a flight. This has been an incredible deep dive. Any parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
As you explore Cologne, I want you to think about how its history is still present today. In the streets you walk, the buildings you see, let those stories inspire your own adventure in this incredible city.
Beautifully said. Well, there you have it, folks. Pack your bags, grab a scarf, and get ready for an amazing November in Cologne.